So again, welcome to Zero to CCNA. This is one of the courses that we have created because we had seen that there have been many courses which are lacking one or the other things. Most of the courses actually concentrate on the theory part, and there's not much hands-on. And then other courses which directly jump into the hands-on, but there is not much fundamental knowledge to back it up with. And what happens with that is that you always feel somehow incomplete when you are preparing for your CCNA. And although CCNA or Cisco Certified Networking Associate is an entry level certification, but it's not an easy certification because there are many routing and switching concepts, the core concepts, which are extremely important if you want to go one step further in your networking journey, or if you plan to do CCNP later, or if you are looking for any jobs or promotions within the networking industry. So these core topics actually help you even if you plan to do cybersecurity later or want to go in network administration, system administration, or if you want to go for collaboration, voice and video configuration, wireless infrastructure. So for everything, the start is always CCNA because this gives you the fundamental knowledge of how the switching is done on layer 2 and how routing is done on layer 3, and then how you can actually secure it, how you can configure IP services, which are actually configured on the top of your infrastructural configuration. So that's why CCNA becomes extremely important. And what we thought, Christian and I, that let's create a program which actually doesn't go like a boot camp style. Like in 5 days, we go through all the topics and it's done. That's not a very ideal situation because in 5 days boot camps, 7 days boot camps, there is so much information. You are sitting there 8 hours a day and getting everything, trying to grasp all the information they are providing to you. And at the end of the day, what happens that you lack the proper practice for all the topics because CCNA has many topics. So we thought, okay, let's slow down a little bit. Let's create a program where we are going to go one session per week, and we are going to concentrate on one topic every week. So we make sure that we start it from the scratch. So we don't assume that you have any knowledge of the topic. So you might be coming with some knowledge. Maybe you have worked on that, or maybe it is completely new to you. We are going to start from the scratch. We are going to make sure that you understand the topic with three primary questions. Every time we start any new technology or any new topic, we always answer the question, what is this technology? Second question, why do you need this? Like, what problem is it solving? And of course, the third and most important thing is how to configure it and how to troubleshoot it. So this what, why, and how. If you answer these three questions, you actually cover the complete curve of the technology, and it makes sense. That okay, now it makes sense. Why would we use it and how to use it? And in the live Zoom sessions, I am going to also do the lab. So we will have hands-on approach. So it is a completely hands-on approach program, but without leaving the importance of fundamental knowledge. That's why you will see that this is divided into courses divided into two parts. You will see in few minutes when I will explain you the course structure. Is that we always start with the theory. We make sure that the logic is clear, why, what, why, and how questions are clear, and then we switch to the hands-on to the lab, where I will actually solve the complete lab live into the Zoom session step by step. And while I'm configuring the lab according to the instructions, I'm also explaining why are we doing the things that we are doing the way we are doing them, right? So that it becomes complete sense. Okay, so we learned the logic and now we are applying it into the configuration. So that actually completes the circle. Now it makes complete sense. And then the same lab I'm going to send you during the week so that you can also practice it, and we will provide all the tools that you will need to start practicing your CCNA right from the first week, right? So without further ado, let's get started. Let's first of all see the course structure, and then we'll also discuss that what tools we use. Some examples I'll give you, that what kind of labs I'm going to provide you, what kind of topologies we are going to work on, and also the exam structure, so that of course at the end of the day you want to pass the exam. So what is the exam structure and what will be the good strategy to approach the exam, right? So let's get started. First thing, the course structure. So this course is created in a way that we actually take enough time to grasp the concepts week by week. Every week we'll actually cover a different topic. Sometimes the topics are bigger, like spanning tree protocol, so we might take couple of weeks also. So 2 sessions for that. For example, OSPF routing protocol, very important. We'll go for 2 sessions. But mostly what we will do is that we will make sure that we don't concentrate on multiple technologies into the same session. So we can concentrate on one thing and we can master that logic and the configuration both, right? So that's why this course is designed with a concept of once a week. And the course or the Zoom session duration will be 2 hours per session. Although I always say this to all my students that this course is not time centric, it is actually the topic centric or the technology centric. So it is not time driven, it is technology driven. So some technologies might need more than 2 hours to explain and to configure. So we will actually go more than 2 hours. Some of the technologies might be less than 2 hours. So we might end up finishing the class in 1 hour 30 minutes or 1 hour 40 minutes. So it's not time driven, it's just a rough idea that it will be around 2 hours. It could be plus minus, depends on the topic of the week, right? And how we divide these 2 hours is that we are going to cover in-depth theory. So let's say I'm starting a topic called ether channel. Now, what exactly is ether channel? Why do we use it? Like what problem is it solving exactly? So ether channel is a link bundling technology. You can connect two switches with multiple links, multiple cables between them, and you can utilize all the cables. So you can increase the bandwidth available between two switches so that you can send more traffic, more data between them. So that's what ether channel is. Why do we need it? Because there's a protocol, spanning tree protocol, which can block all the links except the one link. It doesn't allow more than one links, more than one cables between the switches. So even if you're connecting 8 cables between two switches, thinking, okay, now I have 8 times of the bandwidth, but no, you end up only with one link or one cable active. The other 7 will be blocked by STP to prevent any looping. So ether channel technology allows you to use more than one cables between switches without STP, without letting STP to block them. So that's why you use ether channel for increasing throughput without any looping issues. And then of course we will see the how part, where how to configure ether channel between devices. So that will be the part of the theory. And then of course there will be practical labs. So then we will start a software or emulation software which we call EVNG. So EVNG allows you to create topologies with multiple routers and switches, and you can actually practice different things. And it's not very resource heavy as well. So if you have a moderate computer like 8 gig of RAM, that should be more than enough for the CCNA course. You can do all the labs that we have here. So then in the second part of the session, we are going to do the lab. For example, ether channel, we are going to see exactly like whatever we learned in the theory part, we are going to apply this into the practical part. And how are we going to do that is that I am going to go through the lab step by step on one of the topologies that we have in EVNG. And I'm not going to just be quiet and configure things. I'm going to explain every single point that we go through. So you will see that for this we have the lab PDFs. Let me show you one of the examples. Let's say uh, VLANs and trunking is one of the very important topic of layer 2. So of course, before we start the lab, we have already done, we would already have done the theory part where we understand what exactly are VLANs, why do we need them, what problem are they solving basically, and how to configure VLANs and what is the importance of trunking. So once you understand that, then we go to EVNG, we start the devices, and then I'm going to start configuring this lab in front of you step by step, along with explaining exactly what we are doing. So we will go through these questions like it is saying configure host names on the switches. So basically we have a topology that we use for most of the CCNA requirements. And you can see that in this topology, we will have branch 1 with multiple routers and multiple switches and router and host PCs. And branch 2 also has similarly different VLANs. And then branch 3 has multiple routers. So we actually configure them according to the requirement that we see into different labs. So we might not use all the routers and switches in every lab, but in some labs we might end up using all 3 branches as well, right? So then there are instructions like configure some VLANs in branch 1, configure VLANs in branch 2, configure trunking between couple of switches in this particular manner. So whatever I will see here, these are the instructions, like lab instructions, and I am going to configure it step by step by explaining you also that how we need to do this and why are we doing it the way we are doing it, right? So once this is done, the lab PDF will also be sent to you after the session. So once the session is done, then you will have the whole week to yourself to rewatch the video and make sure that you understand it properly. If there is any question, you can ask me also during the week. And also, since I will send you the lab PDF, you will be able to practice it yourself as well. Now, of course, you can watch the video and you can do the practice. But remember, even when you are doing it on your own, it's not a test. So you have to have a paradigm shift. You have to have a different mindset for this. That you are always learning. So when you are in this class and you are going through this course, you are always in the learning mode. That means when you are in the session, of course, it is natural that you will learn. You will try to grasp the concepts. But when you are doing the lab also on your own, that time also you are learning. So don't try to test yourself. Okay, do I remember everything or not? I need to make sure that I remember all the commands. No, you don't need to make anything sure. You just need to practice. So that's why we also send you the solution file. So feel free to look into the solution file whenever you get stuck, because what will happen is that if you get stuck somewhere and you don't know the answer and you check the solution file, subconsciously your brain is registering everything, is saying, okay, I got stuck at this exact logic or point, but then I got the answer immediately in the answer file. So now I will remember it for the next time. So the more you practice and the more you refer to the solution file or to the recording of the session, you will be actually more and more comfortable and confident as you go along this course. So don't worry, don't test yourself until it comes to the testing in CCNA exam. Until then, it is all learning, right? So anytime you think that I don't know something, I don't get demotivated, get actually excited and get happy that, okay, I don't know something, so now is the chance to learn it. So let me go back and check the solution file, check the recordings. If solution file is not clear, check the recording. If recording is also not clear, I am also available for any Q&A. So you can definitely ask me. But any somehow you have to make sure that you get the answer, you understand the answer, so that your brain remembers it for the next time. And that's how you will gain confidence, by completely hands-on approach and giving you enough breathing space, right? You don't have to do 10 different technologies in same week. You have only one technology and you have the whole week. So whenever you get time, you can actually practice it, right? That's why we call it the full hands-on approach. Right from the beginning, we start with the labs, barring initial like subnetting concept, which is theoretical completely. But then we immediately jump to VLANs and trunking and all the practical part of the CCNA, right? So if you're wondering that what is EVNG exactly? So as I mentioned that EVNG is an emulator. So there is a difference between a simulator and emulator. So simulator is a program which simulates the devices, means it is acting as it is as if it is the real device, but it's actually a software or a program which is programmed to respond the way a real device would respond. Like Cisco's packet tracer, it's a simulator. It doesn't have the real operating system in the backend. But emulators like EVNG, they are like the front end shells, which can actually show you routers and switches images and diagrams. But when you actually boot the routers and switches in the backend, it needs the real operating system images, the same operating system that you would use in the real router and the switch. So the only thing missing is the hardware part. You have the complete configuration control as if you are using the real device, right? That's why emulators are better and support more features than simulators. And that's why we are using EVNG for CCNA codes as well, right? So we use EVNG. And if you see, EVNG is a free software. Like if you go to evng.net, you will be able to download it. You can actually set it up into VMware or VirtualBox, any hypervisor you can use for that. But once you set it up, you will see that it is completely blank. It doesn't have any images, router or switches or firewalls or any images are not there. So if you are doing it on your own, you will have to download evenng.net. You have to install it into the VMware or VirtualBox, and then it will boot as a Linux operating system. So it's Ubuntu actually, and you need to know a little bit of Linux also to make sure that you can log in into the EVNG backend. And then you have to use some software like WinSCP or Secure Copy or FTP FileZilla kind of software to somehow copy the operating system images into that Linux. And you that means you need to procure these images from somewhere, right? The routers and switches and all these images. And once you copy them into the Linux operating system, you need to know enough Linux knowledge so that you can actually license them inside the Linux with the licensing commands. Because without licensing, these devices will not boot up, right? So once you license them, everything is done. After this tedious work, you will have to open a browser and open the GUI of EVNG, and there you will see again it is blank. You will have to start creating topologies by thinking, okay, how many different topics do I have in CCNA, and how many routers would I need, how many switches would I need, how do I connect them? So it will be a nightmare if you do it on your own. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it will take a much more time before you can get to the actual stuff that you need for CCNA, like configuring VLANs or STP or OSPF or BGP or ACLs. You can't go to that point until you finish this complete procedure that I mentioned. So we thought, okay, we don't want our students to waste time with this, because sometimes you may get stuck and then you have to start again, and it just takes more time to do everything on your own. So we actually took that complete thing away from you. You don't need to worry anything about that. I have sent you guys an email with a Dropbox link where you can download two files. One file is the OVA file. That OVA file is a complete pre-compiled package. So in that OVA, you have the EVNG software, which is already copied with all the operating system images. So all the OS images for routers and switches that you would need are already copied into that. They are already licensed. And in the EVNG GUI, we have already created the necessary topologies that you would need to practice different things. Whether you're practicing switching or routing or security or IP services or programmability, you will see that all the necessary topologies are pre-built into the GUI. So what do you need to do? You just need to install VMware, as we actually recommend to use VMware. It's the workstation player version is free also. So use VMware, import the OVA into VMware, and you are ready to go. Once you boot it up, you can go to the GUI and you will have all the topologies ready to be used. And I'll show you in a minute that how does it look like. But yeah, so you can directly concentrate on the technologies right from day one, because everything in the backend has been taken care by us, and we will provide you that OVA file. So as I mentioned, you will see two files in that Dropbox. One is the OVA, and second is called the EVNG Windows Client Pack. So of course, when you boot the devices in EVNG, you need to start configuring them from CLI. So you will see that there has to be a terminal software which can be used to access the devices, and the best software out there is Putty. You can use Putty to connect to the router or switches and then gain access to the CLI, so you can start configuring it, right? So when you install the EVNG Windows Client Pack, it is going to install Putty and all the other necessary softwares for you, and it is going to link them to your browser, because you do everything in your web browser like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox or any other browser you use, Microsoft Edge. You actually open the EVNG GUI there, and then you boot the routers and switches and you click them on the images to open the Putty. So EVNG Windows Client Pack will make sure that there is a link between your browser and the terminal software like Putty, so that when you click on the devices, the Putty section should show up. So you can start configuring devices right away, right? So that's the course structure we have. And of course, the cherry on top is that you have the lifetime access to the class recordings. So any topic that you want a refresher, you can come back to it anytime, now, next week, next month, next year, in couple of years. No problem at all, because you have the lifetime access to the recordings. Also, if there are any changes into the CCNA exam, if they include some new topics in future, or if they remove some topics, we are going to keep our online video recordings up to date. So whenever you come back, you will see the latest information there, and it will be available to you for free of cost. Of course, anytime there is a change, there is no capping on how long and how much can you actually watch on the recordings. One thing I would mention though is that we have many CCNA classes. It has been a very popular program. So we teach basically the same syllabus because we are teaching CCNA into every single class. So we don't keep the recordings of every single class. So let's say if I am covering OSPF today, and after the class you think, okay, I want to refresh the OSPF knowledge. And when you watch the recording, it will be from one of the previous classes. It will not be from the latest class. But that's fine because we are going to cover the same topic and the same lab also in that recording as well. So the recording might be from one of the previous class, but the topic, the content that you see there will be same, and the same labs will be covered there as well, right? So that brings us to the question that what topics are we going to cover in this CCNA class? So you'll see that in CCNA there are many topics which are theoretical on theory only, and then there are many topics where you might see some labs in the exam. Like they can give you some simulations in the exam where you need to check some show commands or configure security, configure routing protocol, configure trunking. So you might have some questions where you need to access the devices. So we want to make sure that those questions are properly handled for you because what happens is that exam is always weighted. Weighted means you have more marks for the simulation questions comparing to the multiple choice questions or drag and drop questions. These kind of questions, they have less weight than the simulation. So let's say in the exam you have 4 simulations. So total there are 60 questions. 4 are simulations and 56 are multiple choice questions. If you think, okay, I'm going to answer the 56 MCQs, but I'm going to skip the 4 simulation questions, you are going to fail the exam if you do that because simulation questions carry a lot of weight. That's why the hands-on approach becomes extremely important, right? Because that's what will make sure that you become comfortable with the technology and the configuration part that we are going to cover. But yeah, talking about the CCNA topics, we will start with the basics of networking, like what exactly networking is. So if you are new to networking, you will have a good understanding after this session. After the first session, we'll start from next week, the first theory session. Today is just the introduction. But yeah, with basics of networking, it will make sense that what exactly we mean by networking and how does it actually work in the computer networking world. And then the addressing is very important. So we'll actually cover one of the very important topic of CCNA, IPv4 addressing, and more importantly, subnetting. Subnetting is one of the topics of CCNA, which you will definitely get some questions in the exam, but it is going to be extremely useful for you in your networking journey when you are looking at the diagrams of any network, or if you are going to CCNP or even CCIE level, you will see subnetting becomes crucial to understand. That's why IPv4 addressing and subnetting is one of the first topics that we cover so that you understand how the addressing work in networking world. Of course, it doesn't mention it here, but we're also going to understand the MAC addressing, which is actually the physical addressing. IPv4 addressing is logical addressing, and MAC address is a physical address. So physical addressing. For example, every person in the world also has a logical address and a physical address, right? If I ask you, what's your address? Hey, Janaya, where do you live? What's your address? And Janaya says, okay, my address is this. Blah, 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 LA, California, USA, for example, right? So you can see that this is a logical address because California or US is a logical boundary. Inside that, California is a logical boundary. Inside this, Los Angeles is a logical boundary created by humans for privacy and security. And then you may have a unique host ID, means your street name and the house number. That will be your logical location. So if I don't know physically where US is, if I don't know physically where California is inside the US, if I don't know physically where LA is inside California, I will not be able to reach your house. So you can see that logical addressing is good for creating these logical boundaries for security and privacy, but they can't take you to the destination unless you can translate them to a physical location. Example would be the GPS coordinates. The GPS coordinates, like the longitude and latitude, those values can tell you exactly physically where you are on the Earth. And these longitude and latitude values, the GPS coordinates values, are unique throughout the world, right? Similarly, the MAC addresses or the physical addresses are unique throughout the world, and we will see some practical examples also of these things, right? Then we will move to the switching part. So if you join any company and you are managing their networks, you will notice that we have structure, we have layers, like we have computers, printers, servers, and these end devices like IP phones. They are connected to each other using layer 2 devices called switches, and there could be like a series of switches or a group of switches which are connected to each other and providing connectivity to all these devices, the computers, printers, servers, and all these end devices. That is called a LAN network. And within the LAN, you need to create, you might need to create some bifurcation, like within the department, sorry, within the office, you still have multiple departments like IT department, HR department, marketing department, sales department. You want to control the communication between them while keeping them within the same campus. So we can create virtual LANs to segregate the traffic or to isolate them from each other. And we can replicate this VLAN information to multiple devices using VTP, VLAN trunking protocol. Ether channel, I gave you earlier example to bundle multiple links to increase the throughput or bandwidth. STP is used to prevent loops. So these are all the layer 2 technologies or land side technologies which we use within a campus, within a building or set of buildings where you have multiple departments and you want to communicate between them, right? But as soon as you leave your network and you need to go to other networks, maybe you want to go to the internet, or maybe you want to go to another organization's network, or maybe your company has multiple branches and you want to go from one branch to another branch. You are leaving your network and going to another network. That is called internetworking, also known as routing. And routing is layer 3, which is done on router. So we will see router basic config, how do we configure it, how do we manage it, and then of course we are going to delve into the routing part. So static and default routing, what does it mean? And OSPF version 2 and OSPF version 3 also we will cover in IPv6 part. So IPv6 addressing is covered as well. So you can see that we don't have RIP anymore here. So there used to be routing protocol, routing information protocol. It is still there. You can configure it, but it's not part of the CCNA exam anymore. Same thing, EIGRP is also no longer part of CCNA official exam. So you will not see any questions, at least the simulation questions you will not see about RIP or EIGRP. But we want to make sure that you are aware of all the routing protocols. So while in the live class, we are not going to cover those protocols, but when you go to the recordings, you will see that there is a video for RIP and there is a video for EIGRP also. So you can actually watch those videos to gain some extra knowledge about what other routing protocols are there other than OSPF, which is used within the organization. So any routing protocol that you use within the organization is called interior gateway protocol. But when you connect multiple organizations to each other, like internet is the biggest network of the networks. And there are internet service providers, ISPs, which are connecting different locations to each other. And those external connectivities are done using BGP. So border gateway protocol is also something that we are going to cover into our CCNA. And then, of course, once your infrastructure is ready, your LAN side network, your routing side configuration is done, then you can configure different IP services. For example, the services which can help you in different aspect of your networking, different aspect of your configuration. For example, we are going to talk about GRE, which is a tunneling concept to tunnel one packet inside another packet. Network as translation, which allows you to access internet without having a public IP. Network time protocol, we will see that synchronizing the time information between devices become very crucial. DNS, which is used to resolve names into IP addresses. So whenever you go to a website, you always use a name, right? Google.com, LinkedIn.com, Karatul.com, and it gets translated to a public IP address because the website you are trying to access is on a web server and the web server has an IP address. So translating name to IP is done by DNS. DSCP to assign IP addresses to the computers, because every single device in your network need an IP address, which has to be different from other devices' IP addresses. So if you manually configure IP addressing on, let's say, 100 computers, it will be too much work. Instead, you can leverage DSCP. You can actually delegate the work to the DSCP server, which can assign IP addresses to these devices and can renew it time to time and manage it properly. So it becomes very easy. So you'll see that all these services can only work if your routing and switching infrastructure is already set up. Your VLANs, trunking, everything is good. Your routing is good. Then only these things can actually make sense. Same thing for quality of service. QoS is used to prioritize some traffic over the other traffic so that you can have a better experience with one application on the expense of less than average experience for the other applications. So your voice and video traffic you can prioritize because there is delay sensitive comparing to somebody trying to play the YouTube video or trying to download something from torrent. That should not have much importance. So you can actually create the different level of importance using QoS. SNMP is used for network management. And then there are file transfer protocols like trivial file transfer protocol and file transfer protocol. So again, I'm not teaching you these things right now. So whatever I mentioned, you don't need to remember any of that because we will get back to these topics and we will talk about these things in detail with the logic when it comes to that session. I was just explaining you that there are many IP services which are also we are going to cover. And of course, every network needs security. So we need to make sure that if configuration is already done and everything is working fine, we secure it properly. The access should be secured. And we are going to see some security features. For example, access control list so that we can control who can communicate with whom, which device can send traffic to which other device, or to which particular service on that device. So if I have a web server, you cannot request it for an IP address like DHCP, or you cannot request it for a file transfer like FTP. You can only request a web page. So I can restrict it to service only the HTTP or HTTPS ports. So we can actually configure these kind of access control as well. And then there are some layer 2 features also that we're going to cover in the security part. And then you will see that most of these topics are practical topics. So we will have the live Zoom session where we will go through all the theory and it will be backed up by a lab for every single topic that I mentioned here. But there are some topics in the exam which are completely theoretical. You will not see any simulation, but you need to know some basic knowledge of it. For example, wireless, virtualization, automation, and programmability. So for these, once our live Zoom sessions are done, all the labs are done, the core topics are done, then we will open some bonus videos at the end of the course where you can watch them and you will get the necessary knowledge that you need for the exam. For example, wireless, they don't want you to become an expert in wireless because then if you like it here, it's like more like marketing, to be honest, because they are showing you a little bit of wireless, introducing Cisco devices like Cisco wireless LAN controller, Cisco lightweight access points, and then you say, oh, that looks very interesting. Maybe I want to do wireless more. So then you can go for CCNP wireless, which is a completely wireless centric professional level certification. Or maybe you like automation, and then you say, okay, is there a certification for automation and programmability? Oh yes, there is. So let me go and do that one. So these are only introduction. You don't need to go much deeper. That's why the theoretical knowledge is enough, and that's why there are pre-recorded videos for these ones. But of course, while you are watching those videos at the end, you can still send me any questions you have, and any you will still get the Q&A support, right? So one of the things you will see that in every session, when we are done with the topic, and I showed you the lab live on the Zoom session, and of course I will send you the PDF later. But then we will have a quick Q&A session also. So if you have some quick questions, you can ask me at the end of the session. But if you have any detailed question, like maybe during the week you are doing the lab and you get stuck somewhere, maybe you have taken some screenshots of the problem, then you can actually ask them on our Facebook group also. So if you haven't joined yet, you should definitely join the Facebook group. In the welcome email from Christian, you will see a link to join our closed Facebook group where you can ask questions. You can post diagrams, screenshots, exact lab number, and then ask questions there without any problem. And then I will be answering there for sure. And there are other students also there who are on different levels. So even they can chip in, they can answer. There's a great community. And maybe there are other students who are also facing the same issue. So if they will see your question and my answer, they will also get some information. So that will be the primary or the recommended method to ask me questions. But other method is that while you are watching the video recording, you will see that below every video recording, there is a comment section. And anything you type there also comes directly to me. So you can ask your questions, right? Like you're watching the video, you get confused at some point, you pause the video, you immediately ask a question in the comment section, click send, hit send, and then can resume your watching. And then when I get the comment, when I get the email, I will reply back to you, which you will get a notification that you have received a reply, right? So having said that, how exactly is the CCNA exam look like? What is CCNA exam? So the CCNA exam code currently going on is 200-301, and it's actually a 2 hours exam, 120 minutes exam. But if you are from a non-native English speaking country, or if you are a non-native English speaker, you can get 30 minutes extra. It depends on your country's passport. So you might get 150 minutes as well. But 120 minutes is also enough if you know the fundamentals and if you have done enough practice. That's why we are going to concentrate on that. And what kind of questions do you get in this? You get MCQs. So you have multiple choice questions, drag and drop questions, uh, table matching, and there are simulations. Simulations are where you will see a topology and you will be able to click on the devices to open the console and type commands. So you can configure them, you can check and troubleshoot them. And that's where your hands-on knowledge from this course will become extremely handy and very, very useful. Number of questions in the exam depends on a particular variation, like they have multiple sets every time. So it could be anything between 50 to 60 questions. So basically, roughly, you get like 2 minutes to solve one question. But of course, you need to ration it. There are many questions which will take less than 5 seconds or 10 seconds because either you know the answer, you don't know the answer. So there are multiple choice questions, right? So you will actually save a lot of time in many questions from those 2 minutes allocated to each question. And then when you stack up that time, you can use it in simulations, which will take more time. Configuration, understanding the question, understanding the topology, then configuring it and making sure everything is working. It can take definitely more than 2 minutes. So that's why you have to create a ratio that how much time should I spend on the MCQs, how much time should I spend on the simulation, right? All right, so as you can see that this can be extremely useful course for you, and the way we have created this is to make sure that you grasp the knowledge, you become more confident about these technologies by the end of this course. So CCNA certification passing is just one of the perks, but of course you will become more confident in networking and more confident in configuration, so that even if you land a job or if you're doing something in your existing job, you will do it with more confidence, right? And for all the practicals, as I mentioned, we use EVNG, and we recommend it on VMware. Although you can do it on a VirtualBox as well, but since we are using the setup on VMware, so if you get stuck, if you have any issues, we will be able to quickly solve it if you do it on VMware. And if you do it on Windows based machine, Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 11 is fine. But if you are doing it on Mac OS or Linux, we might not be able to help you with the underlying setup. Like if EVNG has an issue, sorry, VMware has an issue, or if VMware vSphere, or if you're using ESXi, there you might have to fix it yourself if you're not using the Windows setup. So we recommend Windows machine for this. So as I mentioned, that the OVA that I send you already has the topology set in EVNG, and I have already sent you the OVA. It says it will be sent in the first week, so I already sent it. So you just need to import it in the VMware. In case if you face any issue installing VMware, because a different company has purchased the VMware organization, so now the website is slightly different, and where do you exactly find the VMware player might be tricky. So just let me know on the email, and I will send you a Dropbox link. You can directly download VMware version 17, I think, which is more than enough for this course to do all the practicals, right? Recommended RAM for all the practicals, I would say 8 gig. So you don't need to give 8 gig to EVNG. Your system should have overall 8 gig, and then to the EVNG you can give around 5 to 6 gig RAM. And don't worry, it is not going to immediately use all the RAM. It starts using it progressively. So as soon as you start more and more devices and configure more things, it start using more and more memory. So it's not that you boot EVNG and immediately your 6 gig that is allocated is now captured and locked. It's not going to do that. So don't worry. You can give it 5 to 6 gig without any issue. If you have more, then you can give 8 gig to EVNG also. Like if you have a 16 gig laptop, you can give 8 gig to EVNG itself, right? So one thing though, that after you import the OVA, make sure that the network type is set to NAT so that you can get an IP address. So when you import the OVA in VMware, and when you go to the settings of the OVA, you will see some configuration like memory. So in the memory here, you can see that you can allocate depending on how much you have. So if you have only 8 gig memory, then you can look for the green arrow, recommended memory, and then you can set up to that point. If you have more than that, you can actually allocate more memory as well. And then on the adapter point, network adapter, make sure it is set to net. It should be already net, but in case if it is not, change it to type net. Why? Because once you do that and then you boot EVNG, what you will see is you will see something like this. You will see something like this where EVNG will boot and it will leave you at this login prompt. Now, as you can see that it is asking you to log in into the backend of EVNG, which is basically a Linux system. We don't need to do that. We are not setting up EVNG with images and licensing. That is already done. So you don't need to log in here. Why did we come here then if you are not going to log in? Because we want to note down this IP address that you see here. So it says use HTTP 192.168.79.130. Make sure that you're not using HTTPS. It has to be HTTP without the security, and because it is a local connection. So just now open any browser and then open this IP address. Now in your case, the IP could be different. So make sure that you check what IP is there, and then you don't need to log in here. Just note down the IP and open this in one of the browser of your choice. So let's say I open this browser here and I type 192.168.79.130 and press enter. And it actually takes you to the EVNG GUI, graphical user interface, where you can log in into EVNG and start practicing with the topology. So you will see that you need to log in here with the username admin, and the password is EVE. So you can see here the EVE, the name of the software, emulated virtual environment. That's the password. So admin and EU. So you click on sign in. The native console is fine. Click on sign in. And once you sign in, you will actually end up on this screen where you will see a list of topologies which you are going to use in the exam. Now, in my case, you will see more topologies because I was playing around and I was testing few things, so I created more. But in your case, you will see all the topologies starting with the keyword 0 to CCNA. Like there will be one topology 0 to CCNA, 0 to CCNA BGP, DHCP, DNS, IPv6, OSPF, routing. So these are the different topologies you will see in your case. So anytime I send you a lab, I will mention that which topology you need to start or boot up. So for example, when I send you this lab VLANs and trunking, the very first thing it says open the 0 to CCNA topology in EVNG. So that one is here, 0 to CCNA. So when you click on this, you will see on the right hand side, it has an option to open this topology. You click on open, and then it is going to open the topology. You can actually zoom in here to see exactly like branch 1 is here, branch 2, and branch 3. Currently, all the devices are showing gray color. That means they are not booted. So what we can do is we can boot the devices. Either we can individually boot them, like right click on R1 and click on start, right click on switch 3, click on start, and so on. Or you can go on this left hand side menu items, and then you can go to the more actions. You can do a wipe all nodes. What happens with wipe all nodes is that any saved configuration from the last lab will be removed, and you will go back to the base config for the next lab. So you should do this only if you are starting a new lab. So if you are in the middle of the previous lab, don't do that. Only if you are starting a new one. And then more actions, start all nodes. And then you will see that the node colors will change from gray to dark blue, and that means the devices are started. So let's wait for all of them to start. Now, once they're all started, you will see that you will be able to access them. Now, I told you one thing, that when I send you the link for Dropbox, I have sent you 2 files. That means you can download these 2 files there. One is the 0 to CCNA OVA. That is what you will import into the EVNG, and this is the big file, right? But then there is a small file, a software, basically a 61 MB only, EVNG Windows Client Pack. You should install this so that what will happen that in the C drive, program files under EVNG software, there will be a folder named EVNG. So under C drive, program files, you will have a folder named EVNG. And here you will see that the PuTTY software is already installed, which will be used to connect to the devices. So what you need to do is when you are checking the topology on the browser, and when you boot the devices, try to click on one of the devices. Let's say I click on switch 3. And when I click on this open, it should open the terminal for me. Like you can see now I have access to switch 3. If it's not happening in your case, then you have to go to you have to make sure that first of all you install that EVNG Windows Client Pack. Then you, after it is installed, then you come to C drive, program files, EVNG, and then you have to look for these registry files for Windows. And one of the registry file will end with the name PuTTY. You see here underscore PuTTY. So you need to double click on this registry file and click yes and install it into a registry. What it is going to do is it is going to create a link between the PuTTY software here, the terminal software, and your browser, so that you can click on the devices to open the PuTTY session directly. Right? I did not click yes because I already have this in registry, but this is something you need to do if you want to start clicking on the device directly and then opening the sessions like this, right? But yeah, from this point onward, you can start configuring the devices according to the questions that you have. And in the solution file, you will see the solution. Like point number 4, it is saying create 3 VLANs, IT, HR, and corporate. So when you go to the solution file, in the solution file, VLANs and trunking solution, for example, you can go to point number 4, and that's how you create the VLAN, IT, HR, and corporate. So you will see the exact configuration that you will need for every single point for trunking, and all these things, right? That we have done, that we already would have done in the class. So it's not that it's completely new to you. You will understand the theory already. I will do this in front of you in the Zoom session, and then you do it again during the week, right? All right, so that's the basic idea here about using the tool EVNG. Now, how this program can help, as you must have seen, is that all the important theory will be covered. Multiple labs will be there. So you will see that every week we're going to do a lab. There are more than 20 labs that we will go through of different topics. So you will have plenty to practice, plenty hands-on. And this is actually one of the things that it is a 24 weeks course. So you have 6 months, step by step. Every week you're going to learn very, very important technologies which are going to shape your networking career in future. So that's why we don't want to hurry or we don't want to do anything in a haste. So basically, take your time. We are not a 10 days boot camp where we go through all the topics. We don't care you understand or not, and then you are on your own. No, we are with you in this whole journey. We make sure that all the important aspects are covered and you have ample time to practice by yourself as well. Uh, of course, my support is there throughout the duration. So anytime you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me. The recommended method would be for the smaller questions, the Q&A in the session directly at the end. For bigger questions, more detailed issues with the lab or something, you can ask me on the Facebook group or comment section of the recording video. But that is for the technical questions. Let's say if you are facing any issue in the setup, like if you have a problem with the EVNG, or if you have a problem with the VMware or IP address is not showing up, any other setup issue you see, you can directly shoot me an email and we can actually discuss one-to-one session and where I can check what is the issue and fix it. So that one you can directly contact me on the email. Although I would say that when you go to the portal 0 2it.com or my Kajabi portal and you log into your 0 to CCNA, you will see that in the first week, one of the videos EVNG setup. If you watch that video and follow all the instructions, your EVNG will be properly set up, and you will also understand how to start the devices, how to save the configuration, how to revert the configuration, how to stop the devices. Everything is covered there as well. So don't worry, you can always watch that video again. And if that is also not clear and you are still stuck, then of course we can have a live session where I can fix the issue for you, right? And this program will make sure that you have all the PDFs with you. So you will have all the labs along with the solution file, and you will have the lifetime access to the recordings. So that way, that's what makes this one of the unique CCNA program. You will not see anything like this anywhere else. Uh, Other programs are always missing something or the other. If they have a good theory, they are missing the practicals, or not enough practicals. If they have uh, big practicals, they are not explaining theory very well. And also sometimes you have both, but there is no instructor support. Maybe it is just like a pre-recorded videos, and you end up with your own questions going to the Google trying to find the answer, which becomes a nightmare of its own, right? So that's why I'm very excited for this course, and I'm excited for you guys. About myself, my name is Arpit Pandit, and I have two CCIs. I did my CCI routing and switching, and then I did my CCI service provider. And I have been actually training for more than 18 years now. Uh, Not 16, so 18 years of training experience, out of which last 15 years, I would say I have been training CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE mostly Cisco courses, and some other Juniper certification as well. I also have worked in as a consultant for many organizations. So most of the service providers or the enterprise networks, they actually have some certain projects which I can overlook, or if there are any issues they need to fix, I can provide some guidance. So I always keep an eye on the existing technologies. So if there is any practical examples, I can include in our classes as well. So that actually is also something will be beneficial for you guys as well. And although it's a cliche, but training is passion. So for me and Christian both, training is a passion. So we like to teach. And what happens is that when there is that aha moment, there is a bingo moment when you are learning something new and you say, okay, now I understand it, and now I know how to configure it. That gives us a lot of joy, and that gives us joy that you become more and more confident in your networking journey. Of course, certification is a sweet result of that, and of course a better job or promotion is definitely the goal. But when you learn something new and you can see that people are becoming more confident, that makes us very happy. So that is the reason why we are doing this. That is the main reason why we are doing this. And because there are many other options also, I can go to a completely full corporate job. I have so many offers, but that is something doesn't interest me much, doesn't actually excite me that much to do just a corporate job, or even opening my own consultancy where I can fix the networks. I like to be connected to the training somehow. It's not that I'm not doing any consultancy work, but that's not my main focus, because training is what I like more. So that's it from my side. So I would say let's get started. Thank you so much for joining today's session. This was just an introduction session, but of course from next week we will start with the actual topics. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, Florencio. Thanks, Coleman. Janaya.
Hey, Arpit, I have a question.
Yeah,
Just so I understand, today obviously is our first meeting. Uh,
yeah.
so the videos that we have access to now are what we're going to be watching between now and our next meeting.
I would say every week it will be different. For example, from the next week, or when we start VLANs and trunking, the actual layer to switching part, that time I will tell you that which video you need to watch after the class. So you don't need to worry of watching it before the class. But the first week videos, they are actually kind of pre-CCNA videos, like Network Plus videos, where they explain you what is OSI model, what is TCP/IP model, and what is the differences between different service protocols that we use on that level, what is basics of networking. Although we are going to cover some part of it in the live class also, like next week we will do the basics of networking, but they are more in depth and more complete information about those protocols. So I would say for the pre-CCNA part, the first week videos you should watch before we start the class. But don't worry, you don't have to watch them all in this week. You have this week and the next week, because the first session will be about introduction to networking. We are not starting with VLANs or subnetting. So you have this whole week, and then after the introduction to networking class, you will have next week also to complete the videos that you see in the first week section of the portal, and then IP addressing and subnetting will start the later week.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
after that, you will only have to watch one video every time. And that is also after the class. So let's say if I cover STP, then you can go watch the STP video after the class. You don't need to be prepared for it beforehand.
Okay, awesome. And so all that's automatically updated in our portal when we.
Yes, that's right. Right. So it's actually, you will see that all the recordings are there and it will keep on opening up for you every next week. But it will be from one of the previous classes, but it's the same content. It will not be from the latest class because it's the same thing. So we don't keep multiple copies.
Right. Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. No problem. So this week, I would say you can take your time to make sure that you import the OVA in VMware. Everything is working fine. You don't need to do anything on the routers yet or switches, but just make sure that they're starting. You can click on them. You can see a CLI. Remember, whenever you click on them, it's always a blank screen. You have to press enter 2, 3 times to start seeing the prompt. So don't get confused if you click on the device after it is already booted and still you're seeing a blank CLI. That's fine. It doesn't show anything immediately. You have to press enter 2, 3 times to start seeing the prompt. But yes, if you see any issue in this part, Janaya or Florencio, you can actually contact me and we will fix it, because the practical part you will not need for at least next 2 weeks. The first configuration we will do, the VLAN and trunking part, it will be needed only after the subnetting, which is a theoretical lab. So you have time. You can just take your time, complete it, and let me know if you have any issues on the email.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Florencio. Thanks, Janaya. I'll see you guys next week.
Okay. Good night. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye bye.